we are getting some breaking updates. I believe there has been arson at the Congress Party office in Sanepa. It is a place in Nepal, so there has been arson there. They are part of the ruling coalition. Protesters have also set fire to the residence of CPN Maoist chairperson Prachanda. This happened in Lalitpur, which means the situation is getting out of control. The Minister for Drinking Water, Pradeep Yadav, has also just resigned from his post. KP Sharma Oli, amidst all of this, has called an all-party meeting to see if this government can even survive. The top 5 updates, ladies and gentlemen, that are coming to us from Nepal are this. 4 ministers, at least 4 ministers, have now tendered their resignations since yesterday. The Home Minister was the first to do so. Then there are reports that Prime Minister Oli could be leaving Nepal. He could be headed to Dubai. Fleeing is the word to be used here. The Prime Minister has now called for an all-party meeting to see that whether his government, 11-month-old government, will even survive this crisis. There is stone pelting and arson that is being reported from across. There is fresh violence that has broken out. At least 19 people are dead. This death figure is from yesterday. We will see if there are any fatalities and casualties today, whether the government gives an order to open fire at protesters. Yesterday, that order was given once these protesters had breached Parliament, which is why the death toll rose to 19. The ex-Prime Minister, we've just spoken about this, Prachanda's house has been attacked in Lalitpur as well. And the army, as you can clearly see on your screens, has been deployed in Kathmandu and other areas as well. How does this impact India? We share a border with Nepal, don't forget that. So our border, the UP border, the Nepal-UP border, that has been put on very high alert. And the Indian government has now issued an advisory asking its citizens in Nepal to stay safe. They're saying be cautious. Let me go across to Abhijit, who continues to be with us. Abhijit, the last 1 year has shown us that we live in a very volatile neighborhood. And Abhijit, as I come to you, we are seeing these pictures of the Congress office being not just vandalized, parts of that office have been actually set on fire. Just take a look at these dramatic pictures that are coming to us. These pictures coming to us from a place called Sanepa. The Congress party, as you know, is in a coalition government. It is part of the coalition government that Mr. Oli heads. Abhijit, could you put things in perspective for us? We saw it in Sri Lanka, where you had a Prime Minister, President flee. We have seen it in Bangladesh, where you had Sheikh Hasina flee the country, come to India. And now it seems Nepal could be going that way as well.
Absolutely, Shreya. So, first we need to separate what happened in Bangladesh from what we saw in Sri Lanka and in Nepal now. See, Bangladesh was all the opposition parties coming together to remove the ruling party. What we've seen in Sri Lanka was a general frustration with the system overall. True, the Rajapakses were a central part of it, but it was generally to discredit all existing politicians up to that point of time. Again, what you're seeing in the visuals right now, yes, the Congress is in coalition with the Communist Prime Minister, Mr. Oli. But it's also Prachanda, who's an even more radical communist, whose house has been vandalized.
Correct.
And parts of it have been set on fire, right? So this is a very strong sort of reaction to a whole decade, 2 decades of failed economic policies, failed social policies, chronic corruption, rampant nepotism. Like Rishabh said, the syllabi would be changed, even the math syllabus would be changed, vice chancellors would be changed. There was no continuity in the education system, to the point where apparently, as I understand it, the Americans are refusing to accept a lot of university degrees as equivalent degrees in America for employment and things like that. Now, when you have played this much politics, you have not been able to improve the economy. Social media was a vent for the people. It's a pressure cooker without a whistle, essentially, what you're looking at. The social media was the whistle, and you essentially just blocked off the whistle or soldered it together. Now, we need to understand why Oli did this. There was a lot of chatter in Nepal about the sheer amount of frustration that was building up. And obviously this included a lot of, nasty stories about Oli, also about Prachanda, about the Congress, about everyone. Now, how do you deal with this? When you put dal on the pressure cooker, you allow the pressure to do its work, you allow the whistle to do its work. What they decided to do was shut it down. So what Oli did was, last week, they passed these new regulations which required social media companies to comply with Nepali law, removing what they considered to be fake news, add what they considered to be fact checks. And these regulations were extremely nebulous. So all these companies raised the issue that, look, India has done something very similar, but they're very crystal clear on what is fake news, etc., etc. You do not have this. This seems like, basically government fiat, that all these social media companies will have to run on government fiat of what they can run and what they cannot run. They were required to register with the relevant authorities in Nepal because the regulations were so nebulous. They refused to do that. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court passed an order saying you have to register. Why? Because it's a law of the land. They can't overrule. So what Oli did till yesterday was he put the blame on the Supreme Court, as if the regulations had come because of the Supreme Court, as if the Supreme Court judgment was sort of sui generis. And because you then banned those social media companies, the one pressure valve that you had, steam outlet that you had, was shut down. It was done entirely to shut down all dissent, opposition and bad news from coming up. And this is what you have as a result. And the clearest indication of this is Prachanda is the leader of the opposition. His house has also been attacked. It is general frustration building up across the system against everybody who runs the system. Left, right, as much as you can have a right in Nepal, left, right, everything.
Essentially is not the organized rebellion that Mr. Oli had spoken about yesterday. He had in fact done a press conference, said, what am I asking for? I'm just asking for these social media companies to be registered. If that is the law of the land, if they are taking us for a ride, obviously I will blame them. Then why rebel against me? The fact is that the rebellion is not just against the ban on 26 social media companies. It's also people being absolutely fed up with nothing working in Nepal. Essentially, that is what you're telling me, Abhijit. Things are not looking good from the pictures that we are seeing on our screens. How does India react to it is a different thing. For the moment, they have issued an advisory amidst the protests that are ongoing. I wonder what happens next, because, Abhijit, there are reports that Oli could be leaving the country after this all-party meet, that there is a plane that is already ready at the airport, at the Tribhuvan airport in Kathmandu to take him to Dubai. You see that happening?
Quite possibly, but let's also be clear. Oli leaving the country will change nothing because the entire system is rotten and corrupt to the core. The kind of corruption you have in Nepal, we can't even, it's not that we're some, clean, shining example to the world. But by Nepalese standards, even India seems, an OECD first world developed country in terms of corruption. There is not a single politician out there who isn't tainted by corruption, chronic corruption. And the problem again is when you prognosticate this, when there is a general resentment against the system, all kinds of nefarious elements will use that to further their own agenda. In the case of Bangladesh, it was a single point agenda. We knew where it came from. We knew who it was directed at.
Abhijit, can you give me a minute here? I have a guest from Nepal, and I think it's important to hear what they are saying because their connectivity is terribly poor. So I believe Mr. Upendra Yadav has been patched on with us. He's the former Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal. Mr. Yadav, there are reports coming in that Prime Minister Oli may be fleeing the country, possibly going to Dubai. Is that something you are hearing as well, sir?
Yes, such type of rumor is here through the social medias. But I think that is not true.
Okay. So you're saying...
A kind of rumor is there.
Okay. So you're telling me that for the moment, all of this is in the realm of rumor mongering that the Prime Minister may be leaving the country. You're saying so far there is no information that all of you as politicians in Kathmandu have that he could be leaving. Can I ask you, Mr. Yadav, who you blame for the situation getting out of control? Look, the point is, from what we are seeing and hearing from Kathmandu in the last 24 hours, it looks like young people in Nepal are absolutely fed up, not just with their government, but even from the opposition, from all netas in Nepal to say these guys cannot do anything. It's time for a rebellion. Is that how you look at things as well, sir? Or do you see a foreign hand in what is happening?
Exactly. The young people, especially the teenager, they don't have their future in Nepal as they are thinking. With no better education, everywhere there is corruption, and at the same time the government role was not responsible. Still now it is not responsible there. Then what happened? People of Nepal and especially the younger generation became more and more violent here. And they started to demonstrate against the government. Their issues were three main issues. First, control the corruption. Second, free the social media. And third, the resignation of the Prime Minister. These three major issues are raised by the youth, or the what we say GNG.
Okay, so can I ask you, Mr. Yadav, given the fact that one of the demands of the protesters who've been on the streets since yesterday, and 19 of them, at least 19 of them are dead, one of their demands is that the Prime Minister quits. 4 of his ministers from the Congress party have already quit. Do you see him quitting as well by the end of the day, irrespective of whether he flees?
Slowly, I think all the Congress ministers and other parties' ministers will quit from the cabinet. They are ready to resign, and they are ready for resignation. But why the Prime Minister is not taking the responsibility of these events?
But will the Prime Minister's resignation not fuel further chaos in the country? I mean, then you are leaderless.
No. After resignation, what will be the situation will be cooled down, and the process of next government will be started. Then people will think that their demand is already listened, already addressed, even partially.
But Mr. Yadav, the fact is, you're saying the process of the next election will start if Mr. Oli actually puts in his papers, and we don't know whether he will or not, because the Nepali Congress has decided to move out of this government. If one after the other their ministers are quitting, then it clearly means they have decided to withdraw support.
Even the party has not decided yet.
Okay.
But the ministers, personally, they decided to resign from the government in such situation.
But the fact is that even if Nepal is to pick another Prime Minister, the opposition's own leader, Prachanda, his house in Lalitpur has been vandalized and attacked. So it seems that young people in Nepal don't have any faith in the opposition either. They seem to think they have run out of choices.
Yeah, 3 leaders, Prachanda, Oli and Sher Bahadur, their target is against them.
So they are looking for an alternative. My question is that alternative available in Nepal, sir, as we see these pictures?
Exactly. Youth generation of Nepal, they are thinking these 3 leaders, Prachanda, Oli and Dewa, are incapable. Their leadership is completely failed. That's why they are raising their slogan against them. So next alternate, we have to think about it.
Okay, but how do you see the current situation play out? Do you see it? I'm asking you, how do you see this current situation play out? The fact is, yesterday 19 students were killed when the police opened fire. This is when these students tried to breach parliament. Was that a bad idea? It was a terrible idea, because what you have just done is inflame passions. Can I then just ask you, how long do you think these protests will continue?
Exactly. The situation is still now terrible. and it spread throughout the country. Even the Tarai, even the mountain areas and in different parts of the country, it spread there. Everywhere there is demonstration now.
Okay.
Everywhere the young generation are on the street. So I think it will be better to resign the Prime Minister and address the young generations.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Yadav, thank you very much for joining us and telling us what is happening in Nepal and telling us what your view of is on what is happening in Nepal. You seem to suggest and think that Prime Minister Oli may have no option but to put in his papers about him fleeing to Dubai. For the moment, you're saying that there is a lot of rumor mongering happening in Nepal as these protests continue. So that is something that you have heard as well, but there is no confirmation on that. Our reports, of course, Abhijit, seem to be suggesting that there is a plane waiting for him. So we'll see how this all-party meeting goes. But the Congress, which is in coalition with Mr. Oli and supports this government, by the looks of it, they have decided that they are not going to continue. 4 of their ministers have already quit. And if the Congress withdraws support, what are the chances of Mr. Oli's government surviving? He may have no choice but to put in his papers by the end of the day.
I think the writing was on the wall yesterday itself, Shreya, with that number of deaths in a country like Nepal and them being abandoned by the Nepal Congress, their chances of survival are very slim. I think what the Nepal Congress is doing is very smart. You see, they're trying to saddle Mr. Oli with all the negative baggage and, wash their hands and extricate themselves from the entire situation, because it was 2 communists back to back that formed the government. It was Prachanda till mid-2024 last year, and it has been Oli since then. I doubt very much that they will be able to distance themselves. Like you said, at Sanepa, you were showing the visuals of the Congress office being burnt. I don't think they can extricate themselves. Second is, I don't think anybody in Nepal actually realizes what is happening, that this is a general revolt of youth against everyone. It isn't a directed revolt. The danger of a revolt like that is, even if it starts undirected, very quickly vested interests and special interest groups gain control over certain elements and tend to steer riots in certain ways towards certain political goals. We don't have any evidence, proof or indication of if that has happened or who is doing it. There's a lot of fake news coming out, sure, but we have no indications about this. Will it be used very soon? There is an extremely high danger that those special interests will get it.